Hi there, Dave Markham for the Brockporter. Hey, I got the suburban news, and again, it's so funny. It's September 11, 2011 edition, and right here on the front page, they got this article that says proposed Brockport Fire District info meeting draws large crowd by Christina Gabalski. And I have to laugh. The first sentence says, a large crowd of more than 100 people came out to learn more and ask questions about the formation of a joint Brockport, Sweden-Clarkson Fire District during a public hearing held Tuesday, September 6th at the A.D. Oliver Middle School Auditorium. A large crowd. Large crowd. You know how many voters there are in Clarkson and Sweden? I bet you don't. Little over 10,000. 10,000 registered voters in Clarkson and Sweden. About 3,800 in Clarkson and 6,200 in Sweden. 100 people came out to this hearing on the proposed fire district. 100. That's 1%. 1% of the registered voters in Clarkson and Sweden came out to the fire district hearing. And Christina Kabalski, and I guess her editor, Evelyn Dowd, decided that that was a large crowd. A large crowd. Chief Mike Henry of the Brockport Fire Department said that there's 111 volunteer fire people in the Brockport Fire Department, 49 of which live in the village of Brockport, 25 of which who live in the town of Clarkson, and 20 live in Sweden, and the remaining number live in other towns, and I guess some live in the city of Rochester, right? So if every fireman or a fireman's family actually came out to this hearing, and the word on the street is that the firemen support the formation of a fire district, but if they only got 100 people there, that's not even the members of the fire department and their families. Now, we've talked about this here before. One of the problems with fire districts is citizen and voter participation, and it's notoriously low. Once a year, they have an election for a fire commissioner on the second Tuesday of December. And if you get 1% of the voting population out, that's a lot of people, right? So I had to laugh, because what the statistics predict and all the experts say is exactly right. On a controversial issue like the formation of a fire district in Clarkson, Sweden, and Brockport, Gabalski and Evelyn Dow, the editor, decide that 100 people is a large crowd. Maybe it is. I don't know. They've never had a hearing on a fire district before. But if this is any prediction of the level of public interest in this issue, it's a sad comment. Now, I would assume that the people that showed up at this fire district thing would be the politicians, Paul Kimball and his buddies, and the town Clarkson and Jack Milner and his buddies from the town of Sweden, and Margie Blackman and Connie Constaneta and all their buddies from the village of Brockport. They came out because they've all agreed that they want a fire district, right? So you got to assume that the politicians and their supporters would be there anyway. And if it's true that the Brockport firefighters really want a fire district, then why wouldn't they? They want keys to the combination. They want the combination to the safe, or the keys to the safe, right? So you'd expect they'd be out there, right? If they can't muster 100 of their own volunteers out to a fire district meeting, you got to wonder, So there's something here really screwy. Where was the other 9,900 voters in Clarkson and Sweden? They sure weren't at the public hearing. And if they actually have a voter referendum, do these people really want to get screwed with another layer of government that can tax them? I mean, I seriously doubt it. So I think this little exercise in pseudo-democracy, this public hearing, which they're required to do by law, probably didn't have much credibility with the average voter in Sweden and Clarkson. Obviously, they weren't interested in enough to turn out because they knew it was all public relations nonsense to begin with. So the fact that so few people turned out, I think, is probably an indication of the voters' good sense. And I don't think is any indication at all of how they're going to vote on this issue. So I'm hoping that people will continue to inform themselves on the facts about the operation of a fire district as compared to a village-operated in-town collaborative partnership for a fire protection district. A whole different thing, right? So while they're crowing, I don't know if Christina Gabalski's on their payroll or not. You know, they ran this big insert a couple of weeks ago that nobody had their name on and nobody took any credit for. You couldn't tell who paid for it or who wrote it or why it was in the suburban news. You know, it's a penny saver. So you don't get any good news coverage or analysis from it anyway. But I just got a kick out of this headline today. You know, I was downtown in Brockport and I happened to pick it up and I saw proposed Brockport Fire District info meeting draws large crowd. So I picked it up and it says a large crowd of more than 100 people. That's not a large crowd. You have 10,000 registered voters in Clarkson and Sweden. Actually, that's pretty pathetic. And I think probably it's an indication that most of the voters in Clarkson and Sweden know that this proposal by their town councils is just nonsense and that they're getting screwed in the process. And obviously they're not interested in participating in having another layer of government in their pocketbooks fleeced. And so, you know, you have a mutual admiration society of Paulie Kimball and Jackie Milner and all their consort there, and Mikey Hendry and the fire department all there, and they're all talking to each other about what a grand thing it would be if they could take the taxpayers to the cleaner and get a fire district where they can have 5 of their commissars just vote in the budget every year. You know? So I think there's various ways of looking at this. I'm not at all impressed with what they were able to do here. In fact, I think it's pretty predictable. The statistics predicted it. And I think that's how it would go if you had a fire district. Basically, you're turning over the combination to the safe to 5 commissioners who would all be firefighters and their family, and they would be able just to soak the taxpayers forever they want for their trucks and buildings and gear and equipment and all that kind of stuff. You know, it's a terrible model for how to finance and govern fire protection services to municipalities. And the New York State Committee on Efficient and Effective Government came up to the same conclusion. Fire districts are second best to fire protection districts in terms of efficiency and effectiveness of operations. So you're being getting sold a bad sale of goods. And then the corker at the end of Gabalski's article, it says, Rhett King, who also lives in the village, said a fire district is what is best for both the community and for firefighters. Well, Rhett King was the primary spokesperson and advocate for village dissolution last year. Remember him? You know, he was up there debating and he was making speeches and going on and on. He's a landlord in Brockport. And, you know, the Republicans, I don't know if they paid him or not, but, you know, he was a paid spokesperson and goes on. And so they quote him right at the end of this article, and he says nothing. Rhett King, who lives in the village of Brockport, said a fire district is what is best for both the community and for the firefighters. It doesn't say why Rhett King thinks that or what his reasons were. Just says that Rhett King thinks this. Well, Biggie do. Why'd they ask Rhett King? Who the hell's he? You know? They could have asked Joe Doe or Joan Doe whether they thought it was a good idea or not. I mean, that's the level of report you're getting here. So I think it's kind of sad. Anyway, you can't believe what you see in the suburban news. And stay tuned, because you'll get more good information off the Brockporter and from Pro Brockport and from other sources that are objective, rather than reading this kind of nonsense. Large crowd. 1%. 1% of the voters. Thanks for listening to me. I appreciate your support. Let's get the word out there that the fire district is not the way to go, but the Tri-Municipal Oversight Committee would be a good idea. So I think it's going to take the citizens sticking up for their own interests, educating them on this issue, and putting pressure on their town council members and their village trustee also, who have betrayed all the interests of village taxpayers, willing to give away millions and millions and millions of dollars of taxpayer assets in return for a fire district that's going to be able to tax us all with impunity. It's crazy stuff. So stay tuned. I'll try to keep you informed. It's Dave Markham for the Brockporter. Peace.